Here at Dynamite Download, our thoughts and prayers go out to Mr. Brody Lee and his family and friends, John Huber. He was truly inspiration to many as we see the outpouring on social media, and he will be truly missed.
Down.
Welcome everybody to a special event. As you can see, SPD did us. He did it right. Bring it in the awards ceremony with his best black tie affair. Very impressive, SPD. Thank you for bringing in that formal vibe to this show, everybody. We are going to be doing our first annual Dynamite Download Best of 2020 Awards, and what a year this was for me. I'll just say on behalf of our team, this was a very challenging year for so many of us, and there's so much drama, so much fear. We were such a polarized country, and AEW was such a great show, as a great distraction from all the scariness going on outside out in the world right now. Got us an opportunity to be happy again. There were so many moments throughout the year that it was a very difficult time for us to prepare these awards, everybody, but man, was it fun to do. And that's what I think, guys, when I talk about AEW, it just is fun. It just makes me happy. It's a show that is always entertaining, always pushing the envelope to get us as in new ways, to create new ways to make us entertained. And man, guys, I don't know about you, but this was a tough list just to narrow down what categories we wanted to talk about
Exactly,
tonight.
I know.
So, SPD, you get the honors, Mr. Fancy Pants. Why don't you start this show off, sir, with the top babyface of the year?
Yeah, the top babyface, like you just mentioned, man, it was a tough decision. It was a busy year. Kind of had to go back and see what, the early part of 2020 before we lost crowds. And
That's true.
I went back and forth with this one, but my top babyface pick was Darby Allin. And as you know, I've been on and off the Darby Allin train, and, Bonds picked Darby Allin as well. And you got Cody Rhodes, and, I picked him for multiple reasons. Early on in 2020, he had some outstanding matches. When he had that handicap match against Inner Circle and Jericho, he really showed that the crowd was really hot for him. And then, midway through, he kind of died off for me, but now he is ending 2020 on a strong note, especially with essentially Sting in his corner. And to me, he is definitely the top face of 2020 in AEW from Dynamite Download. And Cody Rhodes is definitely no slim choice for that. He could have been a unanimous for us as well. So this was quite the company with those two guys for the top babyface, with a company, honestly, I think that is full of heels, that really shines with heels. So Darby Allin, Cody Rhodes, top babyfaces of 2020. Now, next up, Bonds, take it away with the top heel.
Well, we had our only unanimous pick for the year. MJF is the top heel in AEW, and in my opinion, he's the top heel in the world.
I completely agree. I mean,
he's great.
He is nonstop. We talk about him week in and week out of how good he is, not only just in-ring work where he can really just cheat to win, like he showed with Orange Cassidy and the bat, faking that. And just the mic work is literally just second to none and well beyond his time. He can cut a 30-second promo that could steal the show. And time again, the last few weeks, he's really ending 2020 out strong. Crayfish, you're an MJF mark for sure.
Yeah. No, I mean, MJF is one of the few guys in the business who can turn a guy who's been watching this show and watching wrestling since he was a little kid make me feel like a mark again. The guy is so good at what he does. I feel like when we talk about consistency, MJF is one of the few characters that you can bank on every single time he's on the mic, every single time he's in the ring. The guy is entertaining. He knows how to play a crowd. He's truly, it's not a surprise that he was the unanimous pick for top heel, as if MJF needs anything else to stroke his ego. I'm sure he's going to be putting that Dynamite Download top heel award in his cabinet there.
The next Tony Award.
He's so good at what he does, Bonds. And I think you nailed it. The guy, consistent. That's what we look for. Week in, week out. You can bank on that. My thing for me with the top female of the year, why don't we throw up that graphic real quick, SPD, because this is a perfect segue for me. As the resident Britt Baker fanboy in this group, I've been banging the drum since we started Dynamite Download that Britt Baker truly is every bit the heel that MJF is. She is the female counterpart to MJF in the women's division. Whether she's in a match or in a segment or in a promo, Britt Baker is going to command your attention. She always delivers. I'm so glad to see that she's got the waiting room now. So the AEW has found creative ways to integrate her character in, because she can command a room. She's so comfortable on the mic. Britt Baker, from top to bottom, her intensity in the ring is something that I think has gotten better and better over the course of the year. And guys, for me, as we end this year and we're transitioning into the next year, there are very few stars in professional wrestling that are as engaged in a feud as hot as what Britt Baker's in right now. That feud with Thunder Rosa has us absolutely begging for more. I would be remiss if I didn't mention, Bonds, your pick for top pick of female of the year, Sheeta. Really, truthfully, I feel almost like I'm disrespecting the champion by picking Britt Baker. Sheeta has been a defending champion. She's got a warrior spirit. She's held that title with a variety of great challengers over the course of the year. But for me, when it comes to all-around presentation, when it comes to being a top-to-bottom star home run pick, Britt Baker has been the backbone of the AEW women's division. And out of that, though, one of the things we need to recognize is that the male division has had so many more players focused that we can pick between who's the top guy in the company. What a tough choice that was.
Yes.
SPD, you kind of zigged when Bonds and I zagged. With Jon Moxley, who had one of the greatest world championship reigns that I can remember in recent years. But I understand picking Cody. The guy, to me, was known as the Giant Slayer. So he had that TNT championship run where he was weekly defending that belt. Is that what made you pick him this year?
Absolutely. I mean, you talked about carrying a company or carrying a division essentially, and I think no better person than Cody Rhodes, proving week in and week out how many different stars he brought into AEW with that TNT Open Challenge. Where would AEW be without Ricky Starks? Where would AEW be without Eddie Kingston? Matt Sydal. I mean, he's going to be versus Matt Sydal soon. So like all these, essentially now no-name people to some of these AEW fans now are mainstream million viewer stars, and nothing against Jon Moxley. I mean, he carried the whole company for however many days with that championship through a pandemic, and same with Cody. That TNT championship tournament. I mean, they filmed so many matches in such a little time, and week in and week out, he was doing the Open Challenge. He was the face of AEW and still is the face of AEW, and he is definitely closing out 2020 very strong. Moxley is a close second in my opinion. But as I'll talk about later, Cody was in one of my matches, or my pick of the match of the year, and we forget about some of the feuds he had with MJF, getting lashed on TV, the first ever steel cage match, just Cody Rhodes' first quarter of 2020. Whew, man, he delivered consistently all year. He was consistent.
Yeah, I think that if we look at these two guys as the picks, we have two champions, two guys that are incredibly underrated on the mic, and we picked top mic performer. Bonds, you're next. Honestly, to me, Cody is one of those guys that every time he's in the ring, he has one of those, like, he has a marathon match. But man, Moxley and Cody know how to pull you in to a big match. That's one thing that SPD and I have talked about throughout the weeks. Every single time that those guys have a big match, they know how to get the fans dialed in and excited for what's to come. I can't tell you the amount of times where Moxley would cut a promo where I'd be, okay, he's got my money.
Yep.
Bonds, you got a tough category next, brother, because there are some big guys on the mic. And we were just talking Cody and Moxley. Yeah. Neither one of them are even on this category sheet for us at the start as a finalist. Tell us why you picked Taz. I think that we're, SPD, I'll let you jump in after Bonds is done with his pick for Taz, because I would like to hear, as a representative for Eddie Kingston, why he was your pick too.
Well, to be fair, Teddy Kingston, he was my second pick.
Okay. All right, Bonzi.
I'll take
Taz
it.
lately has been the man on AEW. He's carrying Dynamite, in my opinion. Team Taz is the most interesting storyline in pro wrestling. They're fantastic. I think that his presence alone is helping young guys like Ricky Starks, young guys like Hobbs, all these guys that are with him now. He's just elevating these guys because of his mic work. He's been just on point, and so is Eddie Kingston all the time. But just the way that Taz is elevating the guys in his team, oh man, he's so good right now. He might be on his best on the mic he's been in his career.
I can't argue with that, Bonds. I mean, I think that even though SPD and I picked Kingston, and I think SPD, I'll let you chime in as far as that goes. Kingston, his feud with Moxley really had some captivating promos that built off of the emotion that you want to draw off of the fans. But I think, Bonds, that's why you are liking what Taz is delivering, because this feud that he has with Cody is so personal, and he's really drawing on that emotion of a father-son relationship that I think that all of us can kind of relate to. I think that's a great point by you. And honestly, Ricky Starks, we know that guy is gold on the mic.
He's
and
awesome.
Maybe this time next year, we'll be talking about Ricky Starks.
He might be the top guy on the mic next year.
Right. But without Taz, where would Brian Cage be? Where would Will Hobbs be? Right. I mean, Brian Cage is a mainstay in AEW. And an incredible talent, but man, has he benefited from having Taz be in his corner, right? I mean, he has really helped make that one.
And I think you can make it. I'm sorry, Sean.
Go ahead.
I think you can make the argument that Team Taz is the most powerful stable in wrestling, more than the Inner Circle. Like, Team Taz is the most powerful stable in wrestling, and that is because Taz is the mouthpiece of that.
Hang the drum, brother. Hey, man, we get this weekly format where we get a chance to react and respond. And SPD will attest. I was banging the drum for Hobbs to join Team Taz because I felt like his addition would put them over the top. I mean, when you look at that crew, Bonzi, I understand. You look at Hobbs, you look at Cage, and you have that well-rounded group now. They really are top to bottom pretty stacked, and they complement each other really well, man. Good pick by you. I don't want to pull this away from you guys as far as the segment goes, but you got me talking and I have to just, as far as banging the drum, week in, week out, tag team wrestling has been what I've been most excited about with AEW. And so I get the opportunity to once again reiterate how incredible this division is and why I believe that the tag division has been the backbone of AEW. It is
Couldn't agree more.
Made this company special. Not only do they feature tag team wrestling, but you could tell they respect what each unique team brings to the table. And I think that the more that I'm reading Killing the Business by the Young Bucks, the more you see that they have gained mentors along the way that have challenged their way of thinking and encourage them to do the same, to challenge the status quo, to challenge the norm. And we're seeing that with their tag team title reign right now. That's why the Young Bucks were my pick. These guys have been, SPD, you and I have both said, every time they're in the ring, you can count on them to have a great match. No matter what style they're in the ring with, always have a way of making their opponents look better. And that's what I love about the Young Bucks. I'll say really quickly, as an FTR fanboy.
I know. I was shocked by that.
I know. I really, really struggled picking the Young Bucks over FTR. FTR is my favorite tag team in wrestling. But to be honest, I look at what the Young Bucks have done this year, even dating back to their matches, against Kenny Omega and Hangman Page, who was your pick, SPD. And really, those two had a great title run together. I just look at what the Young Bucks are doing. The
unexpected duo that worked.
They were. The last call was one of my favorite finishers, tandem finishers in wrestling. But I just look at the Young Bucks and I see, obviously where would AEW be without them? I love what I'm seeing right now is their ability to work with veteran teams, but their ability to work with these young teams right now is really what is giving me that extra push to say these guys are my pick for top tag team of the year. Not only are they developed, not only does AEW have a developed division with teams like Butcher and the Blade, FTR, Santana and Ortiz, right? But they are building. Young Bucks are doing this to build the future of this division, and I love that. And so I can't say enough good things about Young Bucks, and it doesn't even talk about what they've done with BTE, right? I mean, that BTE is a whole nother show that you guys we all watch every single week. So,
I know.
When you factor in everything that the Young Bucks have done for this company, for this tag division, I can't sing their praises loudly enough. These guys are absolutely killing it this year, and they deserve the recognition for it, even as an FTR fanboy. So
we won't tell them.
That said, the Young Bucks are putting in a lot of time and energy in trying to build young stars. SPD, there were quite a few people who really emerged on the scene this year in AEW. For me, I look at it. I put Orange Cassidy in. Going into 2020, I pride myself on knowing professional wrestling. I didn't really know what Orange Cassidy, who he was or what he was capable of. But what we've seen over the course of the year, for me, I got to see he's actually a legitimate wrestler who is more than just a gimmick. We got to see that come to life with his feud with Jericho. And now heading into 2021, I think that they know that they have a star on their hands. The guy's selling merchandise like hotcakes. Bonzi, I understand your pick for Darby Allin. Absolutely has broken out in a big way. But SPD, I'll let you take the lead on this one. Brody Lee, the Exalted One, was your breakout pick for 2020. Yeah. And obviously with the timing of his recent passing, this is pretty touching stuff. So I'll let you transition into why was Brody your breakout star this year?
All three of these guys are well-deserved of a breakout star of 2020 in many different ways. And you said it best with Orange Cassidy, kind of the unexpected one, that this gimmick was easy to catch on, easy to root for, but he really, proved himself in the ring time and time again, and he continuing to do that. And so the gimmick backs up, or his in-ring work backs up the gimmick, and it works so well. For Brody Lee, just the build and in and out of the ring with the BTE work really had him, his character work on BTE, his promo work on Dynamite, his in-ring matches, his whole feud with Cody, to me, was just top to bottom, just gold. I mean, when he broke that belt and put it all over him and then put him in the stretcher, and then unfortunately his last promo was, we all talked about it, where he was screaming into the camera about the dog collar match. That gave us all chills for that. But just leading the charge with the build of the Exalted One. Sometimes you get these builds and they can kind of fizzle, but he exceeded it in every single way with the Exalted One leading the Dark Order, and he made the Dark Order about 500 times more credible. Even if they are picking up all the losses over time and time again, it doesn't matter. With him leading the charge, he was making this group still a force to be reckoned with, even though he was the one picking up most of the wins. And even now, the Dark Order is still going to carry on his legacy as the Exalted One, and they're going to start to see some momentum. And that is part of the reason why we started the January recruitment month for the Dark Order. So the Join Dark Order January is in full effect. And, this was an idea we announced last week on episode 14, before unfortunate passing of Brody Lee. And so this will still continue to be pushed for in January, because we believe in the Dark Order. We think that, they are featured on TV and off TV with BTE, and they deserve some wins. They deserve even more recognition than they're already getting. And we are behind the Dark Order. We are Dark Order fans. We have joined it. And so we're going to help push it, and they're going to need our support and love moving forward through January and getting through this. So Join Dark Order January is kicking off, and we're happy to be a part of it. Bonds, tell me why Darby, what were some of the highlights for him for breakout for 2020?
Oh, man, well, recently, just by itself, you had him beat Cody, and he had a crazy long, not a losing streak, but he had some matches where you're like, oh man, this guy's going to be great, and he didn't win. But now,
you're preaching to the SPD. I see you nodding along. SPD was really struggling with Darby for a while, because he was getting beat up so much, and I was kept. Eventually, I was like, that's part of his appeal, right?
And now look at what they're doing with him. It all played itself out to the right. People wanted Sting to be with Darby forever, and now we might have that, and that's what people wanted.
Yeah,
exactly.
And they're building to. It's great.
For Darby to come out and overcome Cody and become and really the passing of the baton, right? I mean, we all recognize Cody is. We talked about top face of the year. I mean, Cody's right there, right? So Cody is a great representation of the company, and sort of that passing of the baton from Cody to Darby. I think we all see, Bonds, that they've invested in Darby Allin very much. If you look at what AEW is doing, right? Darby is the TNT champion, right? That's a big title in this company.
Mm-hmm.
He went over Cody, right? He's engaged with the debut of the Icon Sting. He's in a feud with Team Taz. I mean, if they, I don't know what else they need to do other than put like big blinking lights over Darby Allin's head.
Literally strap a rocket to him.
We think this guy is a star. No, Bonds, really great pick by you. And I think that it's telling that all three of us had different choices for Breakout Star of the Year. For me, Brody didn't even cross my mind, SPD, but when I hear you talk about it, it really is a great pick by you in the sense that, man, I loved Brody way before he was in AEW. I've loved Brody for a long time, but we didn't get a chance to see what he's capable of as a standalone, really a star, a leader. He was always a follower in his past life and in his past groups that he was in, but we got to see how larger than life this man was.
Ooh,
and
was he ever?
When we look back and watch his interactions with, I mean, I know we weren't alone watching a lot of his interactions with the Dark Order, man, those guys, I have not switched, like pulled a 180 on a group or on a team as much as I have with the Dark Order. Man, I wanted this group to be taken out back and shot at the beginning of this year.
I know.
And over again, week after week, they put out entertaining content, stuff that just made me slowly but surely swallow my words and recognize I'm not going to fight it anymore. I like these guys. So Brody is a great pick, and his interactions with the Dark Order really solidified a team that all of us are behind here at Dynamite Download. And I think, SPD, you talked about join Dark Order January. This group needs support and love from the AEW family now more than ever. And we were planning on doing that because we've seen them take so many L's lately, and we find them hilarious. And we did believe that Brody was coming back. So I think, going into next year, guys, if you're watching this video, if you stumble across this content, do your best to share with other wrestling fans, and let's bring a solidarity of love and positive reinforcement, and let's recognize this crew as what they are, people who have come together and had something organically grow that genuinely looks like they've had fun together, they've built relationships together, and they've brought us a lot of entertainment over the last year. So they're down. These guys are always the ones who, when you were feeling sad or feeling low, you could always count on them to get you to laugh. Throwing a stack of papers, whether it's Chili's, man, SPD, you and I have had so many moments over the last 14 weeks where we've been laughing, and oftentimes it's because of Johnny Silver and the crew.
Oh yeah.
And I have a feeling that they need some laughs right now too. They need a little bit of pick me up now. Bonds, we've talked about that, the family feel of AEW and how special that is. So join Dark Order. January is going to be a special thing for us here at Dynamite Download, and we hope that we get your support on it. That said, we just talked so much about BTE and all the stuff that happens outside of the ring that makes us such fans of AEW. But at the end of the day, we are professional wrestling fans, and it's about what happens in the ring. And so for me, I am honored to talk about Match of the Year for 2020 because I couldn't find a way to sing Pac's praises in other categories because quarantine ripped away my favorite wrestler in the whole world for most of the year. And that's why I hate 2020. It robbed us of so many things we love. But I will say they got in that match of an Iron Man match of Kenny Omega versus Hangman Page early on this year. And if you have not seen that match, if it's foggy in your memory, maybe the eggnog's hitting you a little bit over the holidays, go back and watch that match. Even though Pac came up short in overtime of that match, I don't acknowledge that loss. That match was an incredible back and forth affair. SPD, you and I talked about it not long ago, how Kenny Omega was on the Talk Is Jericho podcast and how he had given Pac praise as his really the best in-ring performer or best as far as head-to-head foe that he's had, who's pushed him to his limit. And I think that this match was an example of why Kenny Omega references that. These two guys went at it for 30 minutes. And oftentimes in Iron Man matches, you know, you get those spots where they'll be laying around for what feels like 5 minutes.
Right.
That did not happen at all. I went back and watched this thing again because I wanted to be geeked about it before I talked to you guys. And the truth of the matter is this was a breakneck pace throughout. They pushed each other to the limits. And I absolutely loved seeing that. We obviously know now that Kenny Omega is at a whole nother level now. He's world champion. But I do hope that in 2021 we get an opportunity to see these two guys go back at it toe-to-toe in the ring, especially now that Pac is starting to lean into becoming a face. It'd be a nice flip of roles between these two from when we last saw them. I would love that. It would be
great.
That said, Bonzi, your pick for match of the year goes into tag team wrestling, and I love the tag team, and it features the Young Bucks, and it featured Kenny Omega and Hangman Page. So it really, that match that you picked, Bonds, was one that featured the two choices for tag team of the year from the team here at Dynamite Download. So that was a great match, and we talk about pace. For me, obviously, I like FTR's kind of grind it out, slow down style, but when you look at the Young Bucks versus Hangman and Omega, that match was really a bell-to-bell battle between two tag teams, and it had that sense of urgency in it, didn't it?
Oh yeah. This was the best tag team in the world versus the most surprising tag team in the world. That is Kenny Omega, who most people consider, well, not most people, but a lot of people consider the best wrestler on the planet.
Yeah.
And Hangman Page, who's going to be one of the stars in AEW. And then the Young Bucks, who are the tag team champions right now. So, I mean, it was just a match made in heaven, and it lived up to expectations. That's all you can say about it.
Totally. And I think that oftentimes we don't give credit for when a match has, or a performer has, intense expectations and they deliver, right? A lot of times we're quick as a society when someone has big expectations around them and they fall short. Yeah. We are so fast to rush, to laugh, or to mock, or to judge that. But we're very quiet when they meet or exceed expectations. And I think that it's really important that we do that in these circumstances. SPD, you talked about it with Brody in your breakout performer of the year. Imagine the expectations of being heralded as the exalted one. That could have been an absolute dud, but he came out and he dominated and he ran with that. And that's why I pick for that. It's such a great pick by you. One of the things I love about your pick for match of the year is obviously he's well known as a workhorse in the ring. He's for me, and across the board, when we talk about top male performer, top babyface, top champion, whatever we want to talk about, Cody's the guy. He across the board, he comes through. But one of the dark horses that has emerged for us as a fan base here has been Wardlow. And Dynamite Download team, he's been one of our favorites from very early on, and his support has gotten, I think, a little bit more and more. I think a lot more people are ready for that Wardlow to get that next push. That we got to see him in the world title tournament, but our first chance of really seeing Wardlow on a big stage happened in that steel cage match against Cody, and what an iconic matchup that was with that moonsault off the top of the cage. That's a beautiful pick by you.
Yeah, it was. You said it great, man. Wardlow, it was his first main event ever. I was listening to a podcast, AEW Unrestricted, and said he kind of like blacked out on that part. He doesn't remember too much from that because the intensity and what was going on. But Cody can have a great match. He's another one of those, can have a great match with anybody. Same with the Young Bucks. I mean, they're and leading the charge for the reason. And this match really, on paper and everything, the build, Cody took the lashes. He had to fight him in the steel cage just to get to MJF, his true foe. That feud between Cody and MJF early on this year was one of the best storytelling we have ever seen. And this was the first steel cage match, in his hometown in Atlanta, Georgia, and just the high spots that he did. And Wardlow definitely delivered. It didn't hurt him at all. And, I think Wardlow down the line will take a victory over Cody to kind of, get that loss off his record, essentially revenge that. But top to bottom, this match was very entertaining. Once again, it was on free TV, which they're continuing to give us these matches of the year almost on free TV, other than the tag match by you, Bonds.
That's a great point by you. Yeah, SPD. I didn't even notice that. Out of all these great shows that we've seen over the course of the year, 2 out of the 3 matches that we picked for match of the year were on free television.
Yeah, how often does that happen?
That doesn't tell you enough about what AEW is doing and why Dynamite is a weekly show you have to watch. I don't know what else will. I mean, I'm right there with you, SPD, and quite honestly, we could have had so many more picks. Honestly, I thought about Jon Moxley versus Eddie Kingston. I thought Jon Moxley versus Eddie Kingston in that I Quit match. The visual alone of Kingston being choked out with the barbed wire was something that really had stuck with me going on afterwards. But that's neither here nor there, guys. I have a feeling that next year you're going to be having to take all sorts of notes on what your match of the year candidates are, because this roster, as we've talked about over the course of 2020, it really has become so much more beefed up with so much more talent.
Oh my gosh.
When we look back at the beginning of the year, where they were and where they are now, I feel like AEW has built and established so many more stars that we can be excited about going into next year. So I really, really think that 2021 is going to be a heck of a year. When I talk about that, guys, what are your going into 2021? Who do you have? I mean, Wardlow might be my pick. I don't want to spoil it, but who do you have high expectations for going into 2021 as a potential breakout star for us? Who do you think is going to have maybe a match of the year candidate or might steal the show for us as far as best on the mic? Who are you really putting your eyes on going into next year for AEW television? Bonds, I'll let you jump in real quick here. What's your take for 2021 breakout star? Who are you looking to kind of take the reins?
Well, not to steal your thunder, Mike, but I am picking Wardlow as my prediction for breakout star next year. And I think that the match that really sold me, well, not the match, but the tournament, the World Championship tournament really sold me on him because I believed that he was going to win at a certain point. He looked awesome. Hangman? He looked awesome. Yeah. I mean, obviously Hangman is probably going to win that matchup, but he looked great in that match. If you asked me after the match, man, who looked better? They both looked great, and they both deserve to win. And when you have a guy that's like Wardlow's total package, and you see him hold his own with Kenny Omega, you just know that he can be a main event guy, and they probably saw that as well. AEW knows when they have a talented guy on their roster, and I think a push is coming sooner rather than later for him.
Yeah, one of the things that when we saw very early on with Wardlow was the guy has it all as far as he's got the look. He's a big man who's athletic. Those don't grow on trees, as JR always talks about, right? You can't find athletic big man just at your local corner store. It ain't happening. Wardlow has put in the time, you could tell. And I see, Bonds, why Wardlow has so much shine and potential going into next year is, I mean, you look at being paired up with MJF, who was a unanimous pick for top heel. He's already set up very well for a potential babyface run if he ever pivots away and stands on his own 2 feet, breaks away from MJF. That's a storyline that's
built in,
suited for Wardlow to break away and have a nice babyface run down the road. I have a feeling that he's gonna be in conversations for a lot of people going forward into 2021. The guy has it all. SPD, who's your pick for breakout star of 2021? Are you following the trend, or are you gonna go somewhere else with it?
I know we are all supporters of Wardlow at Dynamite Download, especially you two Cleveland boys over there. I mean, you guys are definitely marking out for him. But he is honestly like this silent but deadly killer, and he is very, very underutilized, that we all agree with. And it's just a ticking time bomb waiting to happen. I hope he is the breakout star 21, and I think if he just gets that opportunity, and I think as soon as Hager and him go to battle, whenever that Dynamite the match gets rescheduled in 2 weeks, we will see him to start to blossom, as I talked about on episode 14 last week. That if AEW is going to start booking it right, they need to have him start this upward trajectory next week when he puts Hager to sleep. I think it'll be a battle that will really start to catapult him. I hope he essentially just demolishes him. I hope there's no like cheating or anything. It's a clean, just total demolish where he puts the AEW roster on notice. But Wardlow is my pick, but a close second is Ricky Starks.
All right. Yeah, see, it's funny that you go there. I think that there are 3 names that jump out at me right away. If you're putting me on the spot, and
I know we didn't get to think about this one.
If you're asking me who's your guy or girl for going into next year, there are 3 names that jump right out at me. First one, Wardlow, which Bonds you've already discussed really well. Second, Ricky Starks. I think that Starks has already kind of emerged on the scene a little bit. But to me, when I look at a well-rounded guy who's already really he's ready. It's just, I agree. He just needs the opportunity. There's really nothing in Ricky Starks' game that's lacking, right? We don't really, and the reason why I see maybe some potential in Starks as that breakout star going into 2021, even potentially over my guy Wardlow, is we haven't seen a ton out of Wardlow on the mic.
Right.
Now his presence alone speaks volumes, right? But we've seen Starks can throw a killer spear. This guy is phenomenal in the ring. But when you could cut a promo and take attention away from Taz, who was Bonds' pick for best mic work of the year, when you got a guy like that, he's ready-made, man. Starks just needs the opportunity, right?
He's on the right team.
I think that Starks is I think what might end up happening for 2021, potentially, Team Taz is feuding with Darby. We might potentially see Cage fall short against Darby Allin, and Starks might get that next opportunity. I'm eager to see what's going on for Starks. And the other person that comes to mind is Thunder Rosa.
Yep, I completely agree. Those were my 3 choices as well. We are
Thunder
all on
Rosa,
the same page.
for me, a lot of that hinges on her contract status with AEW. I'm praying that in 2021, we at some point get to say Thunder Rosa is all elite. I love that they've allowed her to continue to explore her other passions. Thunder is very, very excited about women's wrestling in general. So she has lots of different pots on the stove, so to speak. She likes to stay busy and she likes to push herself. But I really, really believe that if AEW is able to lock her up, Thunder Rosa can be a fundamental foundational piece of the women's division in AEW. I love what we've seen from her from the minute she was on AEW television. Right away, her theme music, her presence, her fire, her passion. Thunder Rosa has everything that you're looking for, and I think that this feud with Britt Baker, you're striking out right there, man. You're setting her up with my favorite female heel in all of wrestling. I think that AEW's got a good thing going with Thunder Rosa. So all 3 of those are great picks.
The future is bright.
I'll pick Thunder Rosa, so maybe we're all representing somebody from the team here. SPD, I'll put you down as a Ricky Starks pick.
If those three are leading us into 2021, AEW is going to be have an outstanding year with already what's in place. I mean, we haven't even talked about the stars that are really just leading the charge, with Kenny Omega and Inner Circle and all that. But with these 3, if they really get the spotlight and shine, I mean, we have some exciting stuff ahead of us for sure.
And we didn't even talk about my favorite division in the company. I mean, Top Flight could also be.
That's true.
Your breakout performer of the year, right? I mean, and that's for me, I the tag division, you and I, we've talked about how impressed, all of us are incredibly impressed by Top Flight. So this goes on to say, again, like you just mentioned, SPD, AEW has such a great foundation that has been well established, guys and girls that on the roster that we really can count on week in, week out. But there's so much to look forward to in 2021. So many people who have untapped potential, so many feuds and storylines that we want to see happen. You know, every single week we're going to be watching Dynamite.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be dialed in, and I hope going into the next year, you as an AEW family join us on that journey. That you subscribe to our YouTube page, you follow us on Twitter, you follow us on Instagram. You know we're going to be bringing you great content throughout the year because AEW is going to be bringing us great content throughout the year. We love this company. We love the family, that the environment, the whole we've seen happen, and this is really touching the holidays. We got to see how great of a community we can be. We got to experience the joy of the holidays, but so quickly after that, the tragedy and the loss that's happened to the wrestling community. And for what we've seen out of the AEW community, all of the wrestlers, the staff members, and you as fans, it makes me proud. It makes me feel good to say, you know, there's humanity out there. There are people who see the bigger picture, and who recognize that life really is about helping other people pursue their dreams while you pursue your own. Man, we have such a short period on this earth. Don't get bogged down in the negativity and the hatred. Join the Dynamite Download team, which, you know, as SPD has been saying from day one, this crew is about positivity. This crew is about helping other people pursue their dreams, and really that's what AEW has been. For me, this company is a company of dream chasers, and we love seeing that. The world needs more people who do that. So follow us on that journey next year. You never know where it could take us, guys. We love you all. Thanks a lot for joining in this year, and we look forward to talking to you more in just a few short days.